Hey friends, Circle of Hope Pastors here. This is our video cast. We answer questions that were asked. And this question this week really is personal to me. Why don't I have to hide my failure? I grew up in a kind of system that would say, when you fail, it's shameful, so make sure not a lot of people know about it so you keep looking good. Can you guys help me with this basic problem? How does Jesus intersect with this?
Johnny, I think some of us have had the gift of messing up in life so badly that we've reached out to God for a new identity. And I think that has helped me to accept myself as I am. Of course, I'm going to mess up. Of course, I'm going to say dumb things. It happens all the time. Especially the bigger and better things I try to do, I think we're going to fail even more. And it's about accepting ourselves as God accepts us, which is easier said than done.
Yeah, well put, Johnny. I think when you're talking about failure, connecting to shame, that's one of those things we all experience to some degree, where our external behaviors or our actions, in this case failures, make us think that we are bad, we are defective, we are broken. And what Rachel's saying is sort of this beautiful thing that God offers through Jesus is this renewed sense of who you are in this new connection as a child of God, as a beloved of God. And I think that can help us to face shame in general. And when failure comes and those shaming messages come about failure, you're broken, you're defective, they're met with this new renewed inner sense of who I am that isn't defective, but it's healed, but it's being made whole, it's being in progress towards being completed.
Yeah, but it's hard to, I mean, like, we don't want to feel that feeling of shame. We don't want to feel like those big failures that we've had in our lives that everyone kind of comes to terms with, and they either kind of double down and think like, I need to hide this, or I need to just get better. I think we get that a lot in our culture, but the message of Jesus flies in the face of that, is that, like, no, it's okay. You are who you are. And judging yourself as a failure is not very effective for very long. But receiving the new life in Christ that Rachel is talking about, that's the process. One of our proverbs on circleofhope.net is accepting failure and moving on in hope is basic to living in the grace of God. And that free gift of grace that Jesus gives us on the cross, we didn't do anything to deserve it. We didn't act right to get it. God didn't hide that. That was the whole point.
Mm.
So, I think that it's very appropriate for this moment in our year too, where we're looking towards the cross. Even on the daily prayer, they were talking about the nakedness that we come to the cross in this poem. It was so raw. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard to accept that.
So receiving the grace of Jesus and the transformation that comes with that actually gives us a chance to name our failures and improve. When we disconnect our failures from who we are because we're made new in Jesus, we can actually get better instead of blaming everyone else for our problems like we're Trump on Twitter.
Or like a lot of people.
Ben, I really like your statement about how God didn't hide that how the cross is this giant symbol of our worth and our value and our belovedness. And if God's not going to hide that, we probably shouldn't either. We should probably try and move into that new identity of being loved by God, even as we are.
I would add also that failure can be a really great teacher, and to be able to stumble forward, to keep moving, to not let failure shut you down, but to learn from both how you react dealing with failure, but also how to let other people in, how to let God in consciously to those processes. Failure can teach us a lot about ourselves, but also about life and recovery and redemption, and make us a healing agent in the world.
This is pretty good. I'm glad that we got to talk about it. I feel more encouraged, just so you know, after this conversation. And if you do too, share it or like it or subscribe to it. And if this whole thing is helpful to you, send us real questions that you have. We'll be glad to answer them. Go in peace. Keep journeying with Jesus during Lent. and towards the cross.